Hello everyone and welcome back. Yunus here with Arc Automation Consulting. In this video I just would like to give you a quick summary of some of the improvements and enhancements that has been made to the SQL library. And if you are interested in a specific feature, you'll find the link to the video that talks specifically about that feature in more details below in the this video description. So with no further delays, let's start. The SQL library comes now in two versions. We have version S and version L. The major difference between the two versions is that version L can process higher volume of data. And just to give you an idea, let's do a quick demo. So in here in my database, I have a table in here, table 3 in here, and just to show you. So this table 3 has up to 800 columns with various data types. So what we're going to try to do is going to try to log data to this table from our PLC. So right now, if I select the top 1000 just to see how many records I have. So right now we've got 325 records in this table, and as you can see here we've got up to 800, and some of them are has no data. Okay, so that's the database side. From the PLC side, I am using the L version, and what I have here is so we have the login, which you guys should be familiar with right now. But what we're going to demonstrate right now is I'm going to go to the insert, and what I'm going to show you here, just the setup. And by the way, the insert also got some major improvements. So I'm going to try to log to this table number 3, and I want to log 800 as we said, so I'm going to change this to 800, and I want this to be as fast as possible, and I'm going to hit apply. And then the other thing I need to do is I'm going to eliminate this column 1 name, and what that does is basically it tells the PLC that I want to log to records to all the columns in the table. So by just simply removing that from the first column name, then we don't care about the rest because we're going to log to the entire table anyway. So that's about the settings we have to do here. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to enable this, and then as soon as I do that, it's going to try to log in. As you can see here, I'm already logged in. You can see that the done bit is done, and we're incrementing in here. So if I stop this now and go to the database and just query again, we will see that indeed the rows has increased to 351. Now just to kind of have a little game in here, so I'm going to change this test insert to put something else, and then we're going to see it in here. So let's go back to our block in here, and I'm going to change that for the first values. So if I go here, and here's my value, so it's going to be number 4. So test insert, I'm just going to put something here like hello world. This is SQL Library version L. Okay, so I say apply, okay, and I say OK, and then again I'm going to enable this. So as soon as I enable that, it's going to log in, and as you can see, it's already logging data to the database, and I can keep that going for me. Now if I query, we will see this incrementing as we speak, so now to 379, and here is that statement I just put in there, hello world SQL. So as you can see in here, we're logging to up to 800 data point very fast. Now the other thing I want to show you is on retrieving the data. So what we're going to try to do, just to show you here from the database, we have this table here, and in this table we have more than 1,000 records, so I'm just going to increase this to see how many we have. Okay, so we've got actually quite a bit of records in here. So let's go 10,000. Alright, let's go 20,000 maybe. Alright, so it looks like we have lots of records in here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to retrieve up to 500 rows to my PLC. So to do so, I'm going to go back here to my program, and we have here the select that's going to allow me to do that. So in the settings here, I'm going to just clear this for a second, and I'm going to clear my my counter in here. And then to show you the settings here, again, the SQL select went through some really major enhancement that we're going to touch on in the detailed video. So right now, I have this parameter here, and I'm going to say I want the top 500 of this table, and that's all I have to specify, and with the asterisk at the end, so that's mean I want all the columns. So right now, if I go to my table, I'm just gonna delete all this, just so we can see that's updated as well. So I'll say OK, and then what I'm gonna do is, before I trigger this, I'm just gonna stop my login for a moment. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trigger this bit, just like that, and then it's gonna basically read for us the 500 rows we requested, and it's already done. So now let's have a look, and as we can see here, we got 5 columns, and then 500 rows, and then the total byte counts. And if we look at our columns in here, here's our ID, here's our timestamp, value, voltage, and display time, which is the date and time. Notice also when we are retrieving data, not only we know the data type, but it also allows us to know whether the allow nulls is checked or not. And then also if the data type is a string, it will tell us what type of string. We'll look into more details about that in the videos where we talk specifically about the SQL select improvements. So that's for the L version. Now if I were to use the S version, then I wouldn't be able to retrieve that many rows for the same table. The same goes for login data, so it would be probably like 3 or 4 times less. So for login, you probably can log up to like 200, and for retrieving, you probably can retrieve back about 100, 120 rows back to the PLC. One of the other major also improvement and feature that has been added is the ability to resize your library on the fly. So what that means is, so let's say you you purchase just a single license or maybe the unlimited license, that doesn't allow you to have access to the source code to the library. However, I'm just going to go offline here. However, let's say your biggest table might only go up to 30 columns and maybe 60 rows, for example. So if that's the case, I can go offline here. So what you can do is you can resize your library, and to do so, you can simply, for example, if we're dealing with the select, so I can go here to select setup, and I can say, I'm going to have, probably up to 40 columns. So I'm going to change this to 40 in this data type, and I'm going to hit apply. Yes, and I'm going to say OK. And then the other thing when we're dealing with select we need to change is also we have to look at the table, so that's our response, and we have to change this also to 40 to match what we did in the setup. So, and then we will have to match this, and I hit apply. If I say yes, now notice here it's telling me that I'm unable to modify the data type. The array dimension is just too large. So one thing you need to keep in mind is, and this is a Rockwell PLC thing, is that your array cannot be more than 1.5 megabytes, which is quite a bit. So, and that's why we're seeing this, because our rows in this case is like 500, because we were trying to pull 500 rows in our previous example. So what we need to do here, I'll just put this back, I'll just hit escape, I'll cancel this, and what I'll do first is I will change our columns, so the column type has the rows, and I'm going to say, the maximum probably I'm going to need is 50. So I'm going to hit apply and say yes, and hit OK, and then I'm going to go back to my SQL table, data type, and then I'm going to say, I just need 40 now. I'll hit apply, say yes, and now it's going to take it. So there we go. So now in the same way we can set up the insert and the update and the custom. We'll touch up on all that stuff in great detail in the specific video for talking just specifically about resizing your library. But now what we did, if we go to our SQL select, we're going to see that the names here now for the columns are up to 39, which is 40. And then in the same way, the table here for the columns is going to be up to 40. And then for the rows, they're going to be up to 50. And so this is how you can resize. So doing so, what this can allow you is going to allow you to use less or more memory as you need of the PLC, but the library will dynamically adjust behind the scenes to accommodate for whatever your dimension that you are using, keeping in mind obviously the 1.5 meg for an array, which is a limitation of the PLC, which is quite a lot, right? So that's another major feature that has been added. The other one I would like to touch on, which is really cool feature. So I'm just going to go online here with my PLC, and now it's going to ask me to download because I changed the data type. So I'm just going to download. And this next feature is going to allow us to decode the SQL errors when they happen. So with that has been said, so we will be able to troubleshoot our issues, or at least help in that effort, without a need of something like a network analyzer or sniffer to see what's going on in the network, or even without even going to the SQL server itself to look at the data in there and look at the logs and the diagnostic and all that we have in there. So we can be right in the PLC we can know what's going on. So to demonstrate that, I'm just going to be deliberately, I'm going to say, I'm going to change my password, for example. Okay, so I'm going to just, just add the plus sign here. So the password now is wrong, right? And then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try to log in back to the SQL server. So when I do so, it's going to try to log me in, but obviously the password is wrong, so it's just going to keep incrementing, as you can see here, the SQL error. So when you see that, what you can do is you go here to your block, and then you go under connection, and then sure enough, it's going to tell you the login failed for your user SA. So right there. And then oh, okay, well, obviously there's either the password has changed, maybe IT changed something in the password, if the password is the same in there, and you can know right away what's going on. And then just to show you, if we even go to Wireshark, we can see that we have the same error right there, right? So we didn't need to use Wireshark or anything like that, or even go to the SQL server to look at diagnostic or whatever. Right in the PLC, we have that error. Now, if I go back, just to show you here, if I go back and let's say trying to trigger a different error, let's say apply, and let's say this time I go to the insert, and let's say I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna, instead of logging 400, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna log 50. That's fine. And okay, I have all the columns in there, so that's fine. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna deliberately just change the name of column 1, and maybe like do column 10,000 or 1,000, sorry, or 10,000 for that matter, so that column does not exist. And let's see what will happen. So when I go and trigger this, we will see again that the SQL error has been triggered, as we can see here, and it turned on. Now if we go to, again, connections here under the insert, we can see right there it tells you that this is an invalid name. So right away okay, I kind of mistyped the column name, or maybe somebody changed something in the database. So you can go and check that, and then once you know the correct name, you can come here and put it in, and then once you do that, we can just reset the SQL error, and we can see once we do that and we have now the proper name, then we can start logging our data. As you can see, it's accumulating in here in our table. So that's really a cool feature that's has been added to the library, and it's in version S or version L, it doesn't matter, they both have this same capability. Another really cool feature I want to touch up on in this demonstration is the support of the stored procedures. So we can certainly execute stored procedures, your SQL stored procedures, and just to show you that, so in here I have some stored procedures in this database. So if I go here and then go into here, so I've got some stored procedures in there and in some other databases. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to execute one of the stored procedures, and just to show you here, if I go to my in my finished product in here, so I'm going to delete this so we can see it live. So I'm going to delete that, yes, and then we're going to see that this line is going to get updated when I execute my So to execute our stored procedure, we can use the SQL custom. And just to give you a quick idea here, so this is kind of what the query kind of look like for stored procedure, and we're just going to execute it from here, and you see it's already done. Now if we go back to in here, our table, you can see there's information and all that. So that's how you can do that, or any other queries for that matter. And the last thing I would like to mention before we finish this video is we do have now a user guide for the library. So it's available. If you're interested, I can email it to you. So that's going to give you a really good idea on how each of the blocks can be set, and the versions available, licensing, that type of I hope you enjoyed this video, and for more details on the features mentioned here and more, please see the description of this video. And again, thank you for watching.